respected Thai, dear brothers, sisters, dear community. Today, July 19, 2020, and we are in the Moon Over Mountain Peak Hall at Deer Park Monastery. First, I'd like to express my gratitude for my brothers for creating the opportunity for your sisters to come to join the Day of Mindfulness in Solidity Hamlet and to share our practice. I think in June, it was Sister D that she came for the first time to offer the Dharma talk. And today I have this opportunity to be here. And I think in September, August, Sister will continue to come to join and share the practice. And I'd like to thank my younger sister, Sister Thanh Hương too. And Sister Thanh, she's supposed to be here today, but she has been sick for 2 days now. So, so thank you for being here with me. It's been a few months now, three, almost 4 months now, since the COVID-19 pandemic, and we practice separately. We have not been together for sitting and Day of Mindfulness. So I really miss the activity, the joy activity that we have together, and also the energy of siblinghood. So I'm very happy to be here today, just to see my brothers. Sometimes I met with brothers on our walk and just to check if everyone is doing okay, especially those I haven't seen for a long time. And I often ask about our aspirants, and all our aspirants are still here and are they happy? Today I would like to share about aspirations. In my practice, over the years, I found that coming back to my aspirations, to be in touch with my aspiration as often as I remember, it's very helpful. It helps me to be more focused on my practice. It helps me not being carried away by the majority. Sometimes because I also enjoy and like it, and sometimes I don't like it, and it can create a mental formation called aversion, attachment if I like, and aversion if I don't like. But remember my aspiration and coming back to my aspiration, it protects me from being carried away by the things around me. So I would like to share my practice in the spirit of being in touch with my aspiration today. I guess that if not all of us, most of us began our path, our practice with some sort of aspiration. Maybe let us take a moment to come back and to remember the first time that we came in touch with the practice. whether we join the local Sangha for the first time, or we come to a retreat for the first time, or we come to the monastery just for a day of mindfulness, for a seasonal retreat. Just take a moment to reflect that moment and remember what brought us to that event. I began my path, my practice when I was in Australia, in Brisbane. One of my close friend offered me one of Thai's book, The Miracle of Mindfulness. So I read and I practiced breathing. And we, the two of us, we practice breathing together. And we wanted to find a meditation center, meditation practice group. And we thought that maybe there should be a group that practice Thai teaching in Brisbane, where we live. So we Google and we found Sangha in Brisbane, not very far away from where we live. So we joined them the first time for the day of mindfulness on Sunday, and after that day, I never missed a day of mindfulness organized by the Sangha. And after less than 1 year, I met with a group of brothers and sisters from Plum village and Deer Park. At that time, one brother lived in Deer Park, so he also joined the delegation to go to Australia to lead retreats in different states. So I met with the monastic for the first time, and I joined all retreats and all days of mindfulness. After that, I realized that this way of living, this way of life, I really want to live. So I start the thought of having a thought of becoming a monastic. So I took all the opportunity to be close to the monastics, brothers and sisters, to ask questions, to share. And my aspiration at that time was to bring mindfulness into my life, to learn and to live the mindful way. And I want to become a full-time practitioner, practicing mindfulness. I want to cultivate loving kindness. I was very inspired by one of the brothers in the delegation came to Australia at that time. Brother Nguyễn Lực might know Thầy Pháp Ứng. So I was very, Brother Đạo Tuệ also know. I was very inspired by Thầy Pháp Ứng practice. So it's kind of like, I want to be like him. So it was in 2000, in 2001, 2002, different groups of monastics came to Australia. But I was in my third year at university, so my family said that I should finish my study before I want to do anything else, and I delayed my visit to Plum, my trip to Plum Village until 2004. When I came to Plum Village in 2004, after a few weeks, and I was reassured that this is the life that I want to live, and this is the community that I want to be part of. And over the years, I also found that my aspirations is evolving too. At the beginning, I didn't aware of or didn't think of these, and also my aspirations become clearer. As I practice, I've been in touch with my suffering. I see my habit energy more clearly, and one of my aspirations is also to understand my suffering, to understand my difficulty, to transform my habit energy and to transform my suffering. And I also want to help other people. At the beginning, I didn't think about helping other people, but because when I practice and I see that the practice is very wonderful, it's very helpful, and I have the aspiration to share the practice with other people. When I see friends come to Plum Village and carry a lot of worries, stress, anxiety, and suffering, so I have the desire to share the practice with others. When I was in Vietnam, when I went to different Buddhist monastery, and I often see the three door gates, the entrance to the monastery. It has the sentence. It's in Chinese Vietnamese. Duy tuệ thị nghiệp. So Duy means only. You heard that the manifestation only. Duy biểu học. So Duy means only. Tuệ means understanding or insight, wisdom. Thị nghiệp. Thị means ease. To be ease. Nghiệp means our career. And then when at Plum Village, when I study, I chant the sutra, the 8 realization of great beings. And in the 3rd realization, it has this sentence. So the 3rd realization, after a few sentences, has the sentence, Bodhisattvas know the value of having few desires. They live simply and peacefully, so they can devote themselves to practice the way. They regard the realization of perfect understanding to be their only career. So that is the sentence that I saw when I was younger, when I was young, when I was in Vietnam. Every time I went to a Buddhist monastery, and it has this words like the realization of perfect understanding is their only career. And that's also become, I guess, that in later years, my deepest aspiration. I also see very clearly that when I'm able to understand myself, I can understand others. If I can understand my suffering, the way I think, the way I do, the way I react, when I see that in other people, I feel I can understand. And sometimes when I have a consultation with friends at a retreat or just in a weekly retreat in Solidity Hamlet, when I listen to their sharing and when I share just my experience, and I said that, how do you know? I didn't tell you anything about my stories or my family. How do you know? And I realized that because I understand, my suffering, my difficulty, that is also what I experience. So when I hear from other people, when people share, when I listen to them, I can relate to it very deeply. And I didn't have the intention to give advice or to give opinions, but I only share my experience, how I practice. And sometimes the person in front of me just blooming. And every time I have experience like that, I feel so deeply grateful for the practice because I see that it works for me and it also works for other people. So that is also reaffirm that I only need to practice to understand myself, to understand my suffering, to understand my difficulty, to understand my habit energy. I will be able to help other people, whoever I come across with in my life, in my practice. So reflect back to my early time at Plum Village. Some other aspirations you may not think about it, but in my case, that's I want to be ordained by Thai. I want to be Thai's disciple. I want to be, it's a sense of belonging. I want to belong to the Plum Village family, the Brown family. So after I ordain, I can take from my list, aspiration list, I want to be ordained by Thai. Yes. I want to be part of this Brown family, Plum Village tradition. Take. I want to be a full-time practitioner. Take. And at some points that I feel like, okay, so I have everything that I that I wanted now. Didn't really go deeper into other more or less important reason for being there yet. In 2016, in 2006 is my first full year of being monastic. That was a very, very big year in Plum Village. We had many retreats, and when Thai was there, and the retreat in Plum Village is, it has so many people. So we had the Francophone retreat, the French-speaking retreat in the spring, and the 21 day retreat in June, summer retreat 4 weeks in July, August, and late August we had Italian-speaking retreat. And every retreat we have at least 300 people, and some other retreat is 500 people. And the condition is very much different than in Deer Park, so we have to travel every day. Lucky that I have a born nguyện lực and vô đạo tuệ here, so they can understand what I'm talking about. We travel every day. One thing that we don't have to worry about giving a Dharma talk, because Thai took care of all the Dharma talks, but we just have to do other things. And it was a very busy year for me, and being a young novice, I was full of energy, and I worked a lot, do everything that I was asked to do to help with. But at the end of the year, after all the retreat end, I had the opportunity to be in touch with myself. Other times I was just outside, working, being with other people, not with myself. And I felt, after all the retreat finished, and I felt lost. I felt empty. I felt tired. And I said, what I'm doing here? Why I'm here? So that question came, and it helped me to stop and to really look back and to get in touch with my aspiration. I want to be to bring mindfulness into my everyday life. And look at me, so busy, running around all day long, busy, talking, working, and I was not able to apply, to bring the practice into my daily life, like when I work, when I'm interact with people. But working is working only, and I don't have much time to practice. I was not aware of my breath when I was with people, and when I work, and when I was on my cushion, I think about work. I think about other things. So it was really a bell of mindfulness for me to stop and to reflect, to look back. I found that I didn't have much space within. It's very full of planning for work, responsibilities. I didn't have the time to study, and I worried about studying. I worry that I don't have time to study. My practice when I'm on my cushion, when I'm with the Sangha to practice walking meditation, and the quality of my sitting and walking is very poor, and I felt disappointed. I look around, and I saw people around me don't practice, and I judge others, and I felt so empty, but at the same time it's so tight inside. And lucky that we entered the 90-day retreat when during that time the winter retreat in Plum was very powerful. So every year we have the great ceremony for lamp transmission, ordination. We have many elder brothers and sisters came from other centers or also from other tradition to join us and to support the great ceremony. So the energy of the Sangha is very powerful. And that winter, I also made my vow to reaffirm my aspiration. And I have my personal practice schedule along with the Sangha schedule. I wrote chapters of touching the earth for myself, just based on my aspirations, what I really want to practice, what I really want to focus, what I really want to cultivate. And I practice sitting meditation and reading my own text every evening. So I was able to fully, quote unquote, recovered after a 3-month winter retreat that year. And since that experience, I saw very clearly that to keep my aspiration alive, to come back to be in touch with my aspirations as often as possible is very important. I want to practice mindfulness. I want to live mindful life. So what do I need to do in order to realize my aspiration? Then I will need to practice the basic practice wholeheartedly in my daily life. I want to understand my difficulty, my habit energy, my suffering. How do I do this in order to realize my aspiration of understanding myself? So I often ask myself questions. How do I practice? I remembered for most of my my time in Plum Village, Sister Nghiêm, Sister Gina from Ireland, she was my mentor. And very often in our mentor-mentees group, she asked us the question, what do you do when you are on your cushion? And that also become my question for myself. So sometimes I also ask myself question, what do I do when I'm on my cushion? What do I do when I am on my walking meditation with the Sangha? What do I do when I am sitting alone and doing nothing? What do I do in my personal time? So it helps me to see my practice, to see where I'm at in my practice. 2 weeks ago on Sunday, we listened to Thai Dharma talk in Vietnamese, and Sister Ji and Thanh Hương had the translation. And in Thai Dharma talk, Thai also said that, what do you do when you are on your cushion during sitting meditation? If suddenly you see that, you see a bowl of noodle in front of you, phở, during your sitting meditation, that's not possible. Sitting meditation is not the time to think about phở. And he said that during sitting meditation, you have to use your optical microscope. Is it the right word? That you can enlarge the object, that you see it very clearly. You have to use your optical microscope to look at your own body and mind, to recognize to be with your mental formations, your feelings, and to look deeply into the things that is in your body or in your mind. And that's what we do when we are on our cushion, when we meditate. So, to recognize and to look deeply, and to continue to cultivate mindfulness, concentration, to recognize is to be mindful of what is in our body, in our mind. To look deeply is to concentrate on that, whatever is there, in order to understand. And once we understand our difficulties, understand the problem, then transformation happens naturally. my early years, I had a lot of difficulties because I was not able to recognize it timely. I was not able to really look deeply and to understand. And that's why I was not able to transform. And it, one thing come after another. And I was not able to take care of the old one yet. And the new ones come in. So I have a lot of difficulties. And sometimes I have to take more time. Sometimes you heard that to hạ thủ công phu, to I don't know if it's correct or not, but like to put your hands on something. I use the lazy times, whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks or 10 days, to practice noble silence, solo retreat. So to have more time to calm down, to be still, so that I can really see, recognize my problems, and to look deeply to understand. There was once winter retreat that I asked the Sangha for permission to practice noble silence every Monday. And then after the winter retreat, we have the lazy times, and I continue with the solo retreat, 10 days. In Plum Village, we have only 10 days lazy after the big retreat, not 2 weeks. I often direct the question within, instead of asking when I encounter some conflict, problem with others. I often ask, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel? Instead of asking why he said that, why she did that. But I ask myself, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel hurt? What is it? Is my pride hurt? What is it? And I also realize that when I pose the question toward myself, I will have the answer. But when I put the question outside, to pose the question to people outside, I will not have the answer, because I don't know. I don't know why she said that, why she did that. But I can have the answer that, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel hurt? Why do I feel? So I also, in practice, in all situations, that directing the question within myself. And I found that that is also a way to understand myself, to understand my difficulties, to understand my suffering. Sometimes I found that, this is I inherit from my family, my mother. And sometimes I said this habit energy is so strong. Sometimes I really found that it's my pride. I cannot. I don't want to admit what someone just said to me, so I react and I feel hurt. Ouch! It's hurt. And once I understand it, and I can smile at it, and that would be my another focus in my practice. When I revisit my aspiration or be in touch with my aspiration, I also ask question. One of my aspiration is to be free. To be free. I said, to be free from what? And how can I practice to be free? My aspiration to be happy and to be at peace. How can I practice to be happy? To be at peace. And I also reflect on the times that I feel super happy. I see that when I practice wholeheartedly, when I see that when I see the quality of my practice, for example, make it more concrete. After a 45-minute sitting meditation in the morning, if I see that I had a very good meditation this morning, my body feel very relaxed, feel well, my mind is calmed. I didn't have any, a lot of thoughts. I was able to be with my body, my breathing. My mind was like a still, calm lake. Walking out the meditation hall, I touched that deep joy, deep peace. And I know that this deep peace and deep joy or deep happiness is coming from the practice. And I also see that my practice does not depend on any external condition. If people around me don't practice, I can still practice. I can still be fully present when I breathe. I can still be fully present when I walk. I can be fully present with my body, with my mind. Sometimes it's difficult because the mind is very intense. A lot of things, strong emotion, it's difficult, but I can still come back to my body, come back to myself. Take an example when we have a lazy period. So everyone's doing everything differently. Some just enjoy resting, drinking tea, being with others. Some enjoy sleep in a little bit more. I still want to do sitting meditation in the morning. So my sitting meditation every day is not depend on the Sangha schedule. It's not depend on other people if they practice or not. I can still practice sitting meditation. I can still have wonderful sitting meditation sessions. So it's my practice to develop a positive attitude toward the practice. I practice for the sake of myself and others. I'm here to practice. No matter if others practice or not, I still practice. Because I'm here to practice and not to practice only if other people practice. I also already experienced that I like to practice during the lazy day, during the lazy period, in my personal time. So it's also become very clear to me that I can still practice, and I want to practice without the Sangha's formal practice schedules. And sometimes when I talk in a conversation with sometimes it's my sisters and sometimes like friends, when we mention to practice, come back to your practice, to do the practice. But what do you practice? To be concrete? And then it becomes also I bring this into my awareness, that to be more concrete in the practice. To practice when on my cushion, I will be focused on my breathing and my body in the first place, and then we'll welcome and to take care of whatever comes, but not allow myself to be carried away by whatever comes. To be there, to welcome guests come in, and then to say goodbye to guests. When I practice looking deeply, is the time that I bring my guests in. To bring the thing that I want to really be with, to invite into, so that I can be fully present for that thing, for the guests. When I invite Sister Thanh Hương to come to be with me, I would like to offer my full presence for my sister. So it's also with the practice of looking deeply. When I bring a topic, a subject, an issue, suffering, and I'm fully there and in control when I look at it. And sometimes I just invite it there, and then sit, and not trying to be here to analyze and to try to understand, because I'll get tired right away. But to put it there and sit with it. I also be more concrete in my walking meditation. So when I walk, at the very first place that I am only with my body, feel my body. When things come, thoughts come, and I'm not ready yet, I'm not available, then I would just say goodbye. Come back next time. When I'm ready, I will invite you in. Actually, this topic, the thought, the idea of what to share today, it came when I on my walk. I walk almost every day, short, long or short, on the path to the gate. So it came just from nowhere. So I have an idea, and I put it there. So every time I walk, it came again. So it came many times. So I thought that this is the right time. So I will share this time about this. Thai often taught us years before that we should balance between study, practice, work, and play. I want to relate to mention only study and practice. I see the importance of both study and equally important of both study and practice. So we study in order to understand, to know, to understand the teaching, and we apply the teaching into practice. In many, not only in our tradition, but in all meditation practice tradition at school, we heard the teachers mentioned the two very important sutras. The mindfulness of the breathing, and the 4 establishments of mindfulness. And we can see the mindfulness of breathing in the 4 establishments of mindfulness, and vice versa too. So that is also a very important teachings for me to bring it into my everyday life, to check my practice. Do I apply this exercise, the breathing exercise? How do I practice? How is my practice of the breathing exercises? The 4 establishments of mindfulness. Do I bring this teaching into my daily practice? How do I practice these teachings? And it helps me to first to be concrete in my practice. It helps me to see where I'm at in my practice, the quality of my practice. It's also helped me to see if I make any progress in my practice. So I devote some time for study and sometimes for practice. I really, all the Sangha's activities is my opportunity to practice, because we don't have, we all know that, and I guess that we all agree that we don't have a lot of time. Our responsibilities, work, and other things. So we don't have a lot of personal pockets for study and practice. So I can spare, I can really make use of this personal time to study a little bit, and then to use the time, the practice time with the Sangha to apply the practice, so that I can really balance my study and practice in my daily life. When Thầy Pháp Hải, last year, when Thầy Pháp Hải was here and he gave a series of talks on the 8 realities of great beings, and I was so happy. In the first talk, he asked me to translate his talk. So I was very happy, because this sutras is also one of my not only favorite, but like, that I took into heart, because the 8 realizations very much the aspirations of our monastic life, to realize perfect understanding. And to help all beings to arrive at deep peace, great joy. It's very much our aspirations. So reading, chanting, studying the great realization of great beings, also helping me to be in touch with my aspirations, to remind me of my aspirations. It's almost time to end. I would like to share one experience. I think I shared with some of you at different times already. When I was a young novice, maybe just a couple of months after I ordained, or even just after a few weeks, I'm one layman. He's from Australia. He came to Plum Village from India. So he's also like a spiritual seeker. That he went different places already: India, Burma, and he came to Plum Village just during the summer retreat. And during in the Dharma sharing, so we recognized each other that we both from Australia. So he came to me and he asked me, because he also have the aspiration, intention to become a monk. So I guess that he asked many people question, not only me, but he asked me, what is the most important for you as a practitioner, monastic practitioner? And I said that the practice. And then he asked, can he ask another question? I said yes. And he asked, what is the most difficult for you? And I said that to maintain the practice, to keep practicing, to maintain the practice. I didn't think at that time, I still remember that I didn't think, but I think it's very much in my heart. So I can share with him right away. 2007, I went to Blue Cliff Monastery just at the time that the monastery moved from Vermont to New York. I lived in Blue Cliff for 2 years, 2007, 2008, and I returned to Plum Village in 2009. And I met him again, 2009 in Plum Village. And I was surprised that, oh, you're still a lay person. You have not ordained yet. So we talked, we catch up with each other a little bit. And he asked me, he said that after 3 years, I would like to ask you the same questions. So immediately I said that my answers are still the same. Last year, we went to Dreamforce to offer the practice at Dreamforce. And Thai, brother Yasha and Thai Kylie was there with us too. So Thai Kylie and I, we had some time to drink tea together and just on a lazy day. So we shared, we talked, and I shared with him. Somehow we came to this topic, and I shared with him this my story with the layman from Australia. And he looked at me, and I said to him, I said that I know you are about to ask me the question that. So you said that the most important is the practice, but what do you mean to practice or the practice? And he said, how do you know that I'm going to ask you this question? So, and I shared with him. I said that when I say that the practice, what I meant is the sitting meditation, the walking meditation, the mindfulness practice. When I sit, my practice is to be aware of my breathing, to be aware of my body, to be aware of my mental formation, to be aware of my feelings, and to look deeply, to understand. When I walk, my practice is to be also to be just walking, to be aware of my step, to be aware of my body. When I cook, I just cook. I'm aware of my bodily movement in the cooking, where in the kitchen. I'm aware of my thoughts, my feelings. And when I'm alone, when I sit and do nothing in my study corner. I'm just with my body and my mind, to watch my body and my mind, to see what is there, and to be with it, to understand. my practice is the Four Noble Truths, to recognize suffering, the first Noble Truth, to understand the cause of my suffering is to look deeply. And when I understand my suffering, transformation comes. And that is my joy and my happiness. The absence of suffering is happiness, is joy. So when I say that the practice is the 14 exercise, the 16 exercise of breathing, the 4 establishment of mindfulness, and apply the Four Noble Truths into every details, issues, difficulties, suffering in my daily life, because it's all just that. And I can do all these things without depending on anyone else's practice, without the Sangha formal practice schedule. So I also want to be very concrete in my practice. That's what I shared with Kylie. And he looked at me and said, "Sister, you grown up." Sorry, because I don't want to share it, but I just have to finish my story. So it really gave it gives me confidence, faith in the practice and in my capacity to practice. I see the practice works, and I just need to remember. Just need to remember and to come back to it. Yesterday, I told one of my younger sisters. I said, "Don't worry about other people's practice. Your responsibility is to practice. You are not only practice for yourself, but you also practice for other people. Because when we practice, we contribute the energy of practice into the collective energy, and energy of practice of the Sangha. So that is also another way to build the Sangha. Building Sangha it doesn't mean that just to come together and to do things together, to hang out, to drink tea, to talk, to laugh, but practice. I benefit from the collective practice energy of the Sangha. Then I know that other people also benefit from the collective energy of the Sangha. So my responsibility, my offering is to contribute to that, to the collective energy of practice of the Sangha. So that motivates me, inspired me to come to the Sangha's activities, to offer my presence, to contribute my practice to the collective practice of the Sangha, and also to benefit from it. So I don't have to depend on whoever come or not, but I do my part, and I have the faith that others will do their path. So I would like to maybe just to summarize my sharing today. To have a clear maybe list, I don't know, but like to be clear about our aspirations, and and to have it, to keep it alive within in our daily life is important, so that it helps us to return to this, to get in touch with the reason, the aspiration, that why we are here, what we are doing here. We left everything behind. We come here. Oh, so what we are doing here, why we are here, and to revisit it as often as possible, so that it helps us to be focused on the practice, to be more concrete in our practice. When we say to practice, the practice, our practice, my practice, it's quite generic, but then to be details in that practice in general. And in each one of us, we will have, we will look at this differently at different time in our practice life. To often ask questions about the practice. How is my practice? What I'm practicing? Why I'm practicing? When we encounter some difficulties, challenges, also to redirect the question within, in order to understand our difficulties, our suffering, our feelings, emotion, to understand our mind. To be concrete in our practice, and to really have the balance between study and practice, because we need to study in order to know what to practice, how to practice, and then to apply the practice to practice. So Thai's teaching, Thai's Dharma talk, and reading books, study materials, not to accumulate knowledge, but to understand the practice, to apply the practice. I think Thai also often remind us that often ask question that is this teaching has anything to do with my daily life, with my suffering, my difficulties, my happiness, my joy. So yes, and that is how I practice. That is my practice in the last 15 years, including my very difficult times. A lot of suffering, a lot of difficulty, and I arrived at this point that I see I'm not afraid of any kind of difficulties, because I know I have the practice, and I know I just need to practice. I know how to get out of it. Thank you so much, dear brothers, sisters, dear Sangha, for being here, to offer the condition for me to share my practice. Thank you.